Hey everyone, today's the humanities class. For some classes, I'm not able to come into class, so this video will have to suffice. But reach out to me anytime you like. Dale.larson@utah.edu, and I'm happy to help you. So today is like, what are humanities? Crash course. How does humanities research and scholarship work on a college campus? Because we have the College of Humanities, and you might end up taking a humanities course, and you're like, well, how do I do that? How do I negotiate that? It's something I didn't understand. So I'll be using the lens of where I came from, where I was like, what does this mean? And then how can you do the research right now? This is important because when we think of humanities as an outsider, we don't often understand that it's about everything that we do. So I won't go into that because that'll be the assignment that we do. Okay, what are the humanities? Let's briefly go to the whatever this is, the Worcester EDU. So there's different ways of organizing humanities, and sometimes things are excluded or put into like different categories. So be that as it may, think about it as somebody expressing themselves in the context of who they are, maybe culture, maybe other meanings, in a variety of categories. That can be things like music, obviously. It can be film, art, but also languages and history, religion, literature. But there's different ways of approaching it. So don't think that it's a hard and fast, set in stone discipline. Sometimes there's different versions of it. But the common thread is that it's somebody creating something, expressing themselves, and maybe considering their audience and how that they see the world, and maybe they can share something in common. This is a crash course. If you go to the University of Utah College of Humanities, these are the majors that they have. There's a lot of languages, isn't there? But there's also things like cultural studies, literature. There's area studies like Latin America, philosophy, all sorts of different things like that. And here's a bunch of minors too, in case you wanted to see those. So it's like, oh, it gets kind of muddy. How do we negotiate our way through this? Well, if we generally have this idea of humanities, it's helpful to go in and see how the scholarship works to help further that definition of humanities and research scholarship. One way of doing this is when you go to a film or you see a film on Netflix. For example, I recently saw The Life Aquatic of Steve Zissou by Wes Anderson. And it felt like there was symbolism, and that felt like something else was going on. It wasn't just a story. That's humanities research, where you're like, oh, this means something different. A lot of people talk about that out on the open web. And I'll use Star Wars as an example because that's like pretty accessible. So, for example, people are like, Star Wars is really about, there's somebody who knows it all. They're like, oh, it's really about blah, blah, blah. In religion, this is what scholars do. But they don't just go out and have conjecture. They have to look through specific lenses. So if you're looking at religion, so this is just kind of like open speculation, which is awesome. I love the open web. Are there religions in Star Wars? It's like people just chewing on things. If you go to the research guide, there are different ways of looking at it, and you can go into like Modern Language Association, and it's somebody with a religious historical background, or it's somebody with a literature background working with somebody in religion, and they're looking through specific critical frameworks that allow you to look through the lens of what does it mean to be Catholic looking at Star Wars, or I have glasses, I have visual aids, or what does it mean to be Arabic? What does it mean to be an atheist? There's all sorts of different critical lenses and framework. And so it's very formal. It isn't just somebody sitting at a bar yammering on about the Jedi. I'm not describing myself here. I've never yammered about at a bar. I've yammered though. So these are some of the ideas and themes, but they're very formalized. And the next thing we should do is take a look at some of those. And this is kind of a segue into the next one, is how can you do humanities research right now? So I'm going to go into one of these databases. So the research guide, you can see I have Hellboy here. I love the Hellboy, Mike Mignola, artist, writer. I love that genre, and not because it's just about Hellboy, but it's about what does Hellboy mean in all these different aspects. So let's go to one of these databases. Modern languages, so this one's a pretty good one for what you're looking at. The assignment that I'm going to give you, though, has you looking at film and television. So if you can't find it in one spot, maybe go down to the second one. But all of these will work. Modern Language Association, huge group of association that they talk about language and humanities in conferences and papers and things like that. It's a very serious discipline. So let's type in, instead, I'm going to type in a title of something else. Super bad. A film that I've never seen, but apparently it was really super popular. Super bad, super popular. So it doesn't have to be like a serious film. Now, what is somebody talking about here? Queerness and futurity. So somebody's looking at maybe gender studies, sociology. There's like a song by James Brown. And then there's somebody looking through the lens of music. Confusions about sexuality and class. So all of a sudden we're getting like sociology and like demographics. Let's do another one. I'm going to do, so I looked at this before. I'm going to do Wes Anderson. And remember, I'm putting stuff in quotes because I want Wes and Anderson to stick together. Otherwise, the database isn't going to know what I'm talking about. So what film are you interested in? What represents something in your life where you're just like, oh, that film was me? Is it like a Harry Potter? Is it something more recent? Is it a television show? Were you a fan of The Wire? Were you a fan of, I'm a big fan of Futurama. What did it mean to people? And why are scholars asking these questions? The reason that they are, there's Matt Groening, oh, look at that. Consumerism. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And you go into the article and you're like, well, what is it talking about consumerism? Well, I remember there was like an underwear ad that projected in Fry's brain because they have like brain advertising. And you can see, oh, okay, this makes sense, except it's very formal. And we've got to click on that external link. So you could put in Wes Anderson, see film themes. James Cameron's newest film, The Avatar second part, might not be in scholarship because it just came out and scholars are still chewing on it. It takes a while to do that formal. Oh, what do I do if I have no full text available? Your quiz for the day, you request it through Interlibrary Law or write to me. You can also put in themes. I'm going to put in the theme of bromance. You can also do religion or specific religion and see what works. So if you are interested in anything, oh dear, male bonding, sodomy, and incest. Goodness gracious, that's a that's a deeper than bromance that I thought. I always thought of bromance as kind of casual. Well, you get the idea. So the library assignment is, actually I'll click on that one. The library assignment, you're not allowed to use this article because I've already looked it up. Library assignment, what matters to you? What do you value? What is a part of your culture that you grew up in that is important to you? What is something that you're interested in? Were you emo in school, but an ABBA fan at the same time? Was that an issue? Look up emo, look up ABBA, look up goth or related themes like that. In these databases, it's all going to be about humanities. So if you want to go beyond the film, television, streaming, that's fine. So what's the name? We're going to base this on a character. What's the name of a character in the film, program, book, story, etc.? So you can look for something. So if on this one, if I was looking up bromance and I wanted to do, I could do that character. What's another one? I'll look up Frodo. I gotta do Baggins. Baggins. Is Frodo Baggins a character? Hey, there's 8 articles. Who's Tom Bombadil? The body in question. The unhealed wounds. Try and find something that's an academic journal. And grab something from there. All you have to do is say, what is the main point the author makes in an article? It doesn't have to be something that really, really resonates with you. You're picking something initially that you want to examine further, and then you find an article that talks about that. That's all you have to do. You don't necessarily have to find something that's like keenly related and aligns with your life completely, because we're doing research. So you're going to get what's the main point the author makes, what's back that up with a quote. I would say do the quote first and then paraphrase this, and then do a properly formatted citation. Extra credit for perfectly formatted citations.